Hey everyone, I'm Heavy J, and this video is really for both players and GMs alike. I want to talk a little bit about character versus character fights today. Sure, brawls between adventurers can be epic, but you gotta make sure it's the good kind of epic, right? There is always going to be disagreements, and sometimes characters will go at it. That's just the nature of some players sometimes. But the last thing that you want to do is obliterate real life friendships. So here's how to throw down without getting wrecked. Today on Fat Dragon Adventure. So first I'm going to talk to you GMs out there. Before things get dicey, have a chat with all the players in Session 0. And if you don't know what Session 0 is, I've put a link down in the doobly-doo for you. But in Session 0, you should talk about when punching each other might be alright, and what's off limits. You know, maybe there's a way to settle things besides a bloody nose. Perhaps a drinking game, or arm wrestling, or really anything to avoid turning the entire tavern into a total wreck. As a GM, you should also double check that no one's getting forced into a fight they don't want to be part of. This has really got to be kind of a group decision. Sometimes characters just can't decide things. Sometimes they're going to fight over like magical loot, or maybe there's a disagreement in party tactics. I see that quite often in my games. But you should keep in mind that any TTRPG, whether it's D&D, Pathfinder, Blade in the Dark, Morkborg, or whatever you're playing, characters can be all over the place. Make sure the fight isn't totally one-sided, and maybe as a GM you can, adjust things just to keep it a little interesting. Now don't forget, first and foremost, you're the ref. Things get heated sometimes between players, and you got to ask yourself, is this really a character versus character fight, or is this more of a player versus player fight? Player versus player fights are a totally different animal and can ruin friendships. As a GM, it's okay to break immersions by just stopping the game and telling the players no. Joey, you're not going to stab Jordan. Not at my table, not tonight. Be there to calm things down and make sure it's all in good fun. Now players, if this is a character versus character fight, then make sure the fight somehow ties back into the adventure in some way. Maybe, just maybe, it reveals a hidden truth that you want to share with the entire party, or shakes things up in some kind of meaningful way. But I think once the dust settles, role-playing the aftermath is a good thing. Also, keep in mind that someone is going to lose that fight, and that someone might be you. How are you going to handle that? Are you going to be okay with that? Also, how is this going to affect the remaining members after the fight? I think that all these are really good questions, and they need to be given some serious thought before things come to blows. Oh, and another thing. If you decide to do this when you're in a dungeon, what happens after you burn through all your spell slots, or you use up all the party's resources to settle your little beef? Your spat could leave the entire party at a disadvantage. So keep in mind that timing is everything. You know, how many times have we all seen this in movies? Two characters have a disagreement during a mission, and one says to the other, "This isn't over. When we get back to the hideout, we're going to settle this once and for all." I think this really communicates to everyone that they're going to continue to be focused on the task at hand, but there's going to be some sort of an accounting later on. Now, players and GMs, my number one piece of advice is if things come to blows, it needs to be in a non-lethal way, like a non-lethal smackdown. I don't know, maybe a race, a skill challenge, or how about this, a duel and whoever draws first blood wins. Anything that doesn't involve turning your party into a bloody mess. I really believe that once someone starts stabbing someone with a dagger, it's kind of a little hard to pull back from that. I know that when professional soldiers have disagreements, they throw punches. They don't grab their rifles or their bayonets and start shooting or stabbing one another. You know, you really can't trust someone to have your back if they've tried to kill you. And I feel that the same thing kind of applies here in character versus character combat. Look, I get it. Sometimes players can't see eye to eye, and maybe it's time to settle things. but it needs to be in a non-lethal way. I also think that the only time it might be acceptable to have lethal combat between characters is at the end of a campaign, when one of the characters secretly reveals that he's been a villain. You know, that happened actually in one of my campaigns, and it was a fun twist to be sure. We'd been playing for about a year, and at the very end, like I said, one of the characters revealed that he was a villain. And of course, that character got completely annihilated by the party in the end. So there is that. So remember, the goal is to have fun and keep the party a party. If it feels iffy, then don't be afraid to skip the brawl altogether. So how about it, GMs out there? Do you allow PvP, or should I say CVC, character versus character, at your table? I want to hear about your CVC experiences. How did they turn out? Were they terrible or were they awesome? I really look forward to hearing your stories. If you enjoyed this video, and you can support the channel by becoming a Dragon Rider, then please visit our Patreon page. The link is down in the doobly-doo. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you never miss our next episode. Until then, ride that fat dragon, and thanks for watching. See you next time on Fat Dragon Adventure. Start recording. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Let's see how that sounds. Maybe a race, a skill challenge, or even a duel, and whoever draws first blood wins. I think anything that doesn't involve turning the bloody party into a mess. Wow. 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 How about anything that doesn't involve turning the party into a bloody mess? Yeah, how about that? Oh my God. Take 5.